Squad for Souls here. We're just going to do a little bit of a discussion about maybe some spirit energy, ghosts in general, different types, maybe kind of situations, settings that spirits are more likely to show themselves or have activity in, and maybe why that might be. Kind of hypothesize a little bit about that and what we think, what we've experienced. I know you guys got anything to say?
Well, I guess just thinking about an energy, like you'd think, like you hear about these haunted places and most of them have a story to it, some sort of murder, death, craziness happened to it, and that seems to carry a lot of energy. And I think surrounded with death, surrounded with murder, you're going to carry a dark energy with you.
Energy. A lot of emotional energy there, too, right? So they say, or I've heard them say on, Ghost Adventures, whatever, that they investigate these places like prison or where someone was killed or committed suicide because when that happened, the event took place, this great burst, if you will, of emotional energy came from that event, and some of that energy could be, for lack of a good term, stuck into the walls or the floor or the building itself, and that such strong energy can bring about spirit activity. I guess that depends on if it's a haunt, like a residual haunt, or if it's an actual spirit there. So it could, the residual could play the event over and over again. And I guess that would look like maybe a different kind of energy that would be stuck there than if maybe a spirit that was intelligent was maybe pulling from that event and using those emotions, those maybe negative emotions, to be able to manifest somehow.
Yeah, I like thinking of energy because there's energy in everything from good to bad. So does it have a different effect on what kind of energy it is? As to say, like a prison, it's probably going to be a bad energy. Yeah. But I don't know what kind of places. You can have a spiritual experience at a church. Like, I don't think a church would have too much of a bad energy. I mean, there's probably stuff out there, but generally speaking of a church, like a good energy there.
Well, and you hear of spirits being seen in, church environment type of a place. Someone will see an ancestor, maybe. You guys know what I'm saying? So that would be like a good but a powerful energy, right? A spiritual energy. So maybe you can go both ways, like you were saying.
I know my sister went to a concentration camp when she went to Europe and said it was like the darkest thing she's ever felt. Like, she's like, you can just feel the wickedness, you can feel the darkness trapped there. Yeah. So something like that, is there energies being able to, or I guess spirits being able to pull from that, or is it all just residual from all the negative? And does a negative energy, are spirits able to pull harder from negative as to good? Yeah. I've always wondered about that. Like, is it easier for a spirit to build off of negative energy instead of good energy? So that's why more stuff with seeing spirits is connected with fear and hauntings as were good stuff. Yeah.
That's a good question.
I'm curious I'd like to learn more about residual hauntings. Are they actual ghosts, or is there something in the environment that's just kind of replaying, like replaying a movie? Yeah. Maybe, this is kind of, I've heard of this, like some sort of mineral and rocks around the area. Like if somebody's, I guess I should have done research before saying this. But like they have like countertops that are made out of certain like rock with certain minerals. It can replay like certain movements. Like you'll hear footsteps at a certain time of day every day, and that's just from this mineral that's replaying stuff. So, but like or like energy that's gone in the area, like you said, the concentration camps. There's so much negative energy. Maybe that also just has something. The energy we give off, if it's a negative energy, maybe that just maybe that's one of those things that soaks into the environment, and the environment just plays it off again, if that makes sense what I just said.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, and if you need to help making it make sense, I think of it as maybe a little more scientifically even you could. Like, matter and energy isn't just destroyed, it just doesn't stop or disappear, you know what I mean? It has to go somewhere, it changes form, or it's transferred into something. So say we're sitting in the car right now, if I were to start it and start driving, and then all that momentum I'm using to go forward, if I slam on the brakes, it's not going to be there anymore to go forward, but it's that energy that was in there is going to be dispersed throughout the action of stopping into the other areas of the car, and we're going to be pushed forward a little bit. The energy even goes into us that way. So yeah, this great emotional event, maybe it's not an energy that we can see and look at under a microscope, but it's still there. And so it could, come out like hitting the brakes on that emotion, and it just kind of goes out everywhere. Maybe it goes into this mineral, or any haunted object, quotations, haunted object. Maybe it's a doll that was something happened traumatic in the same room as a doll, and maybe it has a ton of this emotional energy that attached to it, and maybe it has so much attached to it, a spirit can pull off of that doll or whatever, and maybe that gives it what could make an item haunted.
And so that can do. We can get both residual hauntings, like from this doll.
Yeah, playing the event that occurred to it.
But then also, because the energy is so heavy, we can get intelligent hauntings.
Intelligent spirit.
They can feed off the energy that the doll's bringing out.
Yeah, exactly. It makes a little more sense that way, I think.
I was just thinking about like the energy as in a haunting. Like, I want to say most of us probably have some level of fear or emotion attached to like something happening in a haunting. Like, you're in a house that's haunted, a door slams, you see shadow out of the corner of your eye. Mm-hmm. You're gonna immediately feel fear, you're gonna feel an emotion. And will that spirit also play off of your emotion too? Like, I know, like, ooh, it knows you're scared, so that emotion of scared is going to play into their energy as well, being able to keep it there or build it there. Mm-hmm. I've always wondered that, and just this past week I had something happen. This is last week, and I even texted Trell about it. So for about 3 or 4 days, when I take my little girl to bed in the hall, it just felt really heavy, really weird. And it's weird because we've known nothing of like hauntings or anything at our apartment, but just like a heavy watchness, just kind of a creepy feeling, and it kind of put me on edge. And my wife doesn't really notice stuff, but when I asked her about it, she was like, yeah, that's weird. I hear it too, like I feel it too. I mean, like, she felt it. And so it happened for probably 3 or 4 days, and then I text Trell, tell him what's going on. Like, we go to bed that night, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to use the bathroom, and it's gone. Like, a completely different feeling, like completely different. It just felt normal. And so it was just super weird that as soon as I became aware and told somebody about it, mm-hmm. the energy is now dispersed and it's gone. And we haven't had that yet, and it's been like a full week since mm-hmm. that's happened.
Did you feel like it was no longer feeding on your fear or your sense of unknown that you were having because of these activities? And
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Like, that it just, like, it was almost, that energy was feeding from my fear, also a little bit from my wife's, you know, like, I don't know if energy can make you feel that way, if a spirit draws from that. There's a lot of energy stuff I don't know, but
Yeah.
it was just, I don't want to say it was evil, but it was definitely creepy.
It was something.
There was something heavy, and then become aware of it, and it's just gone.
Now, did you check? Maybe this is kind of a skeptic's point of view. I'm not a skeptic, but this would be a skeptic's point of view. Was a certain time of day you felt this feeling? Was like the air conditioner on, and like when you woke up at night, maybe the air conditioner had automatically shut off because it was at your certain temperature. So maybe there's some sort of wiring. I know there's not a whole lot of wiring with air conditioning, but maybe there's a problem with your house that way, and it's shooting off some sort of electromagnetic stuff that makes you feel these feelings.
Yeah, I haven't thought of that, but I didn't think of the air being on. Like, we have a fan in my little girl's room, and that's always on, and a fan in our room, and that's always on. So I really, because the fan's noisy, so I don't really pay attention to if the air's on or not. But I mean, we leave our AC pretty much on all the time.
The AC was just, kind of the first thing that popped in my mind. It's summertime.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to another related point. I was listening to someone, I guess you call him an expert in the paranormal field, someone who's done it for a long time and knows, and they said that they were investigating a house that a family had just moved into. It was a family with a husband, wife, and some girls, and they were like teenage age girls. And they were having these weird things happen, and it was happening around the girls mostly. So they finally called this investigator, and it was what she found was that the husband had wired something he was using his shed for just like power tools and working. It was his hobby. And he had wired it from the house, and he'd done it through a part of the house that went through the girl's room. And so that was wiring that was just he'd done himself, and he wasn't an expert on it or anything. And so I think it was exposed electrical, whatever you want to call it. I'm not intelligent on this, but anyways, there was energy being fed through, electrical energy coming through there, and she believed, and later says she found it to be true, that the spirit was feeding off that and using that electrical energy also to be able to manifest itself more clearly to the girls. She said it was the spirit of a teenage boy who had died in the community some time ago, is who she narrowed it down to believing is who it was. And once they were able to do that, they were able to make contact. And once he unplugged the thing, she had him unplug it, and then the activity seemed to stop. So I guess that kind of explains how, when you're in an investigation, how your batteries in your equipment suddenly drain, or your power. You had a fully charged battery pack that suddenly drains down to nothing, and then you put in your spares, and those get drained quickly too. And I mean, you hear about those instances and those cases all the time happening in investigations, and it's because that spirits are able to draw from that electric energy. So yeah, I don't know, that's interesting too. But they always say on ghost adventures, they check to see if the electrical, is there, so in case it's throwing someone off. So I don't know exactly how you differentiate between it throwing you off or a spirit being able to draw from it.
Then there's some people I've heard of, of people who are seeing things in their house. Mm-hmm. They have someone come investigate, and they find out that they've got a gas leak.
No.
So they're having hallucinations, and they don't know about it.
Cool.
Josh, are you seeing stuff in your house?
I'm not seeing
A gas leak. No, but I do think there's something to that. I guess we can talk about like you said it. You felt kind of a lot of maybe apprehension and fear is around. So you talk about, and then we talked about the good feelings. So if you're at church, for instance, you feel a very, a calming, spiritual, a good feeling, right? And those are kind of the energy, the vibe, if you will, it's being put out there. That's supposed to increase your spirituality, right? So I guess you're talking maybe about two different kinds of ghosts or spirits in those instances, some afterlife entity.
Yeah, it's just interesting, like you could almost put, I was just thinking of like a sporting event, like everybody getting up, like their energy's so high, like they're gonna put a good energy into the air. Mm-hmm. Like, not saying that sporting events are haunted or anything, but just the energy that's put
when those miracle plays happen out there.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, there you go. That's interesting. Angels in the outfield.
Yeah,
There's a whole movie on that.
There was just good energy in that stadium.
But yeah, and I just want to say, I think that's what's so important about investigations, especially like investigations in your own house, is, you might be hearing things, or, I mean, this was the case just with like at your parents' house, I think, and we went and investigated, and we found some evidence that it could potentially have been a loved one, and then there's no need to feel any fear anymore or anything like that. So I think that's good that investigations can do. We're not just out looking for a thrill, looking for some proof of ghosts.
Yeah, I think that saying that kind of leads us into something I've been getting, and I think we've all kind of gotten it when we've talked to people about talking to them about doing a little investigation in their houses. Well, you're just going to stir up the energy. You're just going to stir it up. Mm-hmm. You're just going to stir it up. And like, honestly, and what I've done is it's either made it go away or made a peaceful outcome.
I think just bringing an awareness and understanding helps you just feel better about it too.
Yeah, I do get like the people who, like, if I don't see it, then it's not really there. Like, you don't want to face it, and that's understandable.
Right.
But we would like to help you out.
Yeah.
A little shameless plug.
Well, it's a different story if it's a demon or an evil spirit, then...
Yeah, we don't do those.
Then maybe you should...
Don't call us.
Just find a different route. But...
No, we'd still do it. We'd send Josh in there. Get in there, Josh.
Get that come out of there like on Casper on the go into the mansion like nope. Who are you gonna call? Someone else.
I'd be the priest they sent in, like, about my head.
Your head's turned around the other way.
No problem. It's a piece of cake.
Anyways, do you guys got anything else to wrap this up?
Squad for souls.
Squad for souls.
Squad for souls.